Welcome to East Tennessee Pinball. Today I've got this Funhouse up here. And if you wonder if this is the other Funhouse, it's not the other Funhouse. This is a different Funhouse. The other Funhouse I've been working on, it's getting this play field. And it's in this other room back over here. It's this one over here. So this Funhouse has a really trashed out play field, and it's getting that replacement one. So I'm not working on that one at the moment. This is a separate one. So this one's in actually pretty good shape. It's pretty dirty. It's got LEDs in it. The LEDs are pretty early generation LEDs. They're not very bright. So we're going to LED this game with new LEDs that are going to be a lot more bright and color matched. We'll put red ones where the red goes. If we look underneath here, they're all just white. They do have colored ones up on the top here. That said, I'll probably put incandescents on the ones that you can visibly see, get some colored incandescents. I think the red ones were real hard to get for a while. I'm going to see if I can still get those. I don't have any red ones at the moment. Maybe they're back in stock. But these actually, this old style of LED, they're actually not so bad to look at with the naked eye. Those clear ones, and they're not really super bright. The frosted ones that I generally put in most games, they're really ugly when they're turned off. So anyway, interesting. I just turned this game on, just set it up, turned it on, and the guy picked it up from one of his main complaints was this kicker that kicks this ball out of here was, it like kick 4 or 5 times and it finally belts the ball out. When I booted this game up, first time, it belts that thing up there. I don't know how exactly that worked, but that thing came belching out of the playfield. I don't know if that sleeve, I don't know how that sleeve could have come out of there and come out, but maybe this had fallen in there or something. But you can see the sleeve, it doesn't, the lip is ripped off the end. So I don't know if it's from that coil, but I'm pretty sure that thing kicked and I didn't see it come out of there, but I kicked and I saw it come right down from that area. Bizarre. In any case, so I'm going to strip this thing down today. I may take Rudy's jaw. There's a guy on Pinside, I believe, and he paints his lip. So you can buy a new one, but it's not painted. So I think I'm going to take that jaw off and set it off and get it painted. I think most of the things work. I think the trapdoor has an issue. I don't know if all the GI lights are working. At least some of them are working. I don't know if all the switches are working. At least most of them are working. I have played this game. The flippers are kind of weak, and there's, it's got some issues. Pop bumper is going to get rebuilt. Going to go through all the mechanisms on this thing. Probably do some maintenance on the boards in the back. Don't remember what the battery situation is like. Let me pull the back box off. So we got the back box opened up, and yeah, we probably definitely have some GI light problems. I mean, that number of them out, I bet there's at least one of the strings back here is out. There's brown and white and brown and green and white and green. Looks like green, white, green's out. Nope, there's some of the green and white and green are on. Brown and white. Nope, some of the brown and whites are working. Huh. Maybe just all the bulbs are, I don't know. They're all LED'd. So at least one bulb on each string is working. That's good. So that's good to know. I was figured for sure. Yeah, that one's brown and white. And that one's green and white. So, both strings are working. That's good. Look in the back of here. It's got a new LED display, which is kind of nice. I'll get this out one-handed. It's got a new MPU, which, Jesus, I guess the new one still has the, got some dated batteries. What does that say? 12-20-28. That's what it says, yeah. That's a pretty short lanyard on there. It's hanging. It's not really great. Might do something about that, I don't know. This board looks pretty unmolested. Pretty stock, I'd say. Look at these GI pins. They don't look all burnt up or anything. I guess it's been LED'd, at least for a while. That keeps them from burning up. Soundboard looks okay. It looks all pretty stock. We got a new ribbon cable there that's only halfway on. Jam that back on a little bit further. This actually looks pretty good back here. So I'm going to start by ripping this thing down. Actually, maybe I'll do one thing. I think I'll do a diagnostics. Go through all the diagnostics tests, check some of the bulbs, I'll make sure I got all the GI circuits going. Maybe go through the flashers. See if I got the flasher circuits working. Go through the solenoids, if I got the solenoids working. That way when I tear it down, I can kind of be focused on some of those areas before I put it all back together. Go through Rudy's test, make sure all his eyeballs are working and jaws working and all that. I know his jaw's working because I played it, but make sure the eyeballs are going left and right. Keeping an eye on the ball and everything. All right, let's go into the test and see what... Oh, we got a report. Okay, 41 left slingshot, 42 left flipper lane switch. Oh, 43. Oh, we got a whole row out. 44, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. Yeah, we probably got a row or a column out. 41 through 45. Huh. Well, that sounds like a switch matrix problem, which would be a board problem. I don't know if there's a manual in here. Let me see. I may have a manual in the other game. I'm going to see if I get a manual around here somewhere. If not, I'll get it online. All right, so I didn't have a hard copy of it, but I got this on ipdb.com. And so 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, they're all dead. And I was thinking it's a row or column, but there's 3 more on this that maybe they were still working. There's 46, 47, and 48. And that error message, basically it pops up if you haven't hit a switch within a certain number of plays. So I'm going to just go to the test menu and see if any of these on this column are working. It's possible that maybe that vertical, that green yellow wire is daisy chained, and it doesn't start from the top and go to the bottom. It could be in any order. It could be that the bottom 3 are working, and then there's a break in the wire for the other ones or something. I don't know. First thing I'm going to test to just see if any of them are working. Maybe nobody's hit the left slingshot in like 20 years. It could be that the switch is maladjusted, but it'd be funny that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row are maladjusted. So, but it's also funny that these 3 are working. So my first guess would be a break in the wire on the playfield. But I'm going to first verify that the top 5 are not working, the bottom 3 are working right now. So I'm going to go in the test menu and check that out. So I'm in switch edges, so I think that one is one of them. That's not working. Let's see if any of them are working. Okay. That's my one of my left-hand lanes. 6171. That one's not working. That one's not working, and that one's not working. I think this is the one. That's one of those 3 at the bottom, I believe. Just go around the playfield and see if pop bumpers are working. Some more switches. There's a switch. That switch is falling off. That switch is not working. Whoa, we got a lot of switches not working. That one's working. That one's not working. Here we go. That one's working. 15, 26, 36. Here's one. 35. So neither one of those 2, and that one's not working either. So it could be that whole column's out, and maybe, I don't know why we didn't get a error for those bottom 3. That's kind of weird. Let me get. I'm gonna get a map for where all the switches are at, so I can go through and actually click on the playfield 41 through 47 or 48 and make sure that absolutely none of them are working. So I went through the tests and was clicking all of them that I could reach with my hands fairly easy, and every single one of them did not register. So I'm going to go through take this back off and get down, pull off the switch connector and buzz them with the logic probe and see if I've got a string out. Okay, so my suspect one, my columns are these green ones here, and it's number 4. So I'm gonna unplug this. I'm gonna buzz them and see if number 4 is different from all the rest of them. Chill out, Rudy. Actually, there's a trapdoor. And so it looks like they're labeled from the left or from the right. There's one. Yeah, number 4 is different. See that? They're all buzzing. Let me put it on. I've got it on memory instead of pulse. I'll make it. There we go. I think a better pulse. Four is just high. So that's the problem is on this board. Wow, I bet it's that chip right there. I hope it is. We've already got it pre-socketed. If Rotten Dog did that for us, they did us a big. Whoa, okay. Trapdoor, shut up. I'm going to make sure that's the chip in question that's driving it. If it is, that'll be a real easy fix. So I got the schematics for the MPU. That's that connector I just pulled off, that green one. It was switch 4, but anyway, you just pull these over. You go through the resistor. Probably not a problem with the resistor or the capacitor. These are all part of that chip that I pointed out, and it's U20, and there's ABCD, but it's all U20, and it's ULN 2803. So U20 is that chip that's socketed right there, and what do we see? It's ULN 2803. Let me zoom in here. It's upside down, but it's right there. ULN 2803. I just happen to have some of those, so I'm gonna just yank that out. Oh wait, I see the problem right there. You see it? Huh. That leg's not in, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I bet the 4th leg is the 4th one. What do you want to bet? Well, that's not the 4th. That's the 4th from the end because it starts on this one and goes around that way. But in any case, that chip's not in there. Let's start by doing that. How about you say that? We just pull that chip, bend it back, and put it back in. How about we do that? Or I could put it in my meter and see if it's a good chip. It's probably a good chip. It's not in there. So this is what it looks like after it came out. I did not do anything to it. So that pin was definitely not in there. I'm just interested, just for the sake of science. Let's see which one was number 4, okay? So, let's zoom back out a little bit here. Zoom in a little bit here, okay. Column number 4, it's hard to follow these lines. It's pin 15. So, on this chip, start here next to that little notch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So, this thing has not worked since this was installed. I don't know if Rotten Dog sockets that chip. It wouldn't surprise me if they did, new, because this chip is real common to fry out, because it's real easy if you're under the playfield monkey with something to short one of those switches with any other voltage, and it'll fry this chip real easily. So it's a good idea. If they did socket that chip, it's a good idea to do it. But it's possible that somebody else has replaced it. I can't really tell looking from the front of it if that's, it could be factory. I can't tell. I don't know. But in any case, I don't think those switches have worked since whoever put this in put it in. I'm pretty sure the owner didn't put this thing in there. So I'm gonna bend this out and put it back in there and see if that fixes it. All right, so I got that chip in there, booted up. I'm gonna go to the switch test. Whoops. Okay, yeah, they're working now. No, those were working before. Well, it was this one, I guess. Yeah, 48. None of the 40s were working. That slingshot wasn't working. 41. In lane, 42. Yeah. So that's an interesting one. So whoever stuck that in there, I didn't stick it in very good. Anytime you stick a chip in there, it's always good to. I've done it. You know, it's real easy to bend a chip, but it's also very easy to just check and look and see if they're bent over, because, you know, the more I film, the more I realize that what a great tool is. And I'm doing most of this with my camera. What a good tool it is to see things with my camera, because I see them better with my eye. I didn't notice that until I really zoomed in to show y'all. And it's like, whoa, bent chip. That solves everything. I had kind of casually looked at that, just kind of looking around, and hadn't seen it. So yeah, get a magnifying, get your camera, and even if you're not filming, just this is a note to myself. You know, it's a good idea to look at it. Okay, so I think we don't have any more switch matrix issues, I don't think. We can go through the rest of the tests here and go through the solenoids, flashers, all the GIs, and I'll see if I find anything else. All right, so I went through all the tests. All the solenoids are working. The trap door is supposed to pop up and stay up, and sometimes it's not catching. It's popping up and flopping right back down. Another thing with the flashers, when it's got the flash, and it says on the screen, it'll say 3 blue flashers. So there's a blue one here, there's a blue one under there, and there's a blue one there. And it'll do like blue and nothing in white. So these are not corresponding with colors down here, and some of them are not flashing, but there's at least one blue one and one red one and one white one. So I know the transistors are all working. It's just probably some of the bulbs are out, and it appears that maybe they're not wired right, because the blue and the blue and the blue are supposed to all go at the same time, as what it says on the screen anyway. It says 3 blue flashers, and those are the 3. And sometimes it's a blue and a red, or, you know, they're kind of mixed up. So I'm going to look and see if the wiring on those is maybe swapped around, but probably not a big deal. So mostly this game is working. The ramps are pretty decent. I'm probably going to keep the ramps. So really, it's taking it apart, going through these mechs. Pay special attention to this one. Rebuilding the pops, rebuilding the slings, rebuilding the flippers, obviously. Maybe take a look at Rudy. Sometimes he's making a little bit of, his jaws kind of grinding sound, or a buzzing sound. Maybe the coil's in there loose or something. I don't know. But it's time to get after and strip this thing down. Just for fun, I pulled up a picture of a Rotten Dog MPU, a new one that's for sale online, and that chip is indeed socketed. And another thing I noticed is that little symbol. I can't recognize what company that is, but that symbol is the same symbol as the chip in the game. So it's quite possible that that's the original chip that shipped with that Rotten Dog. So it's possible that somebody put in that Rotten Dog MPU to replace the other one that was dead, and that chip came from Rotten Dog with the leg not inserted. And so it wasn't somebody replacing the chip, it was the original insertion of the chip from Rotten Dog. It's possible anyway. It could have been from Rotten Dog, it could have been a replacement, but in any case, that brand is the brand that Rotten Dog at least used on this board that's for sale. I've got some of these 2803s, and there's several different manufacturers that make them. Mine don't have that. Mine have a different symbol. So fair chance it came shipped that way. Who knows? In any case, it's to be avoided. Well, I figured out why my flashers are not going in unison with blue, and blue. I've got that other out in the garage, and I checked it, and it does do blue, but the order of these are blue. It's supposed to be blue, red, and white. So I think these two domes are backwards. So that's an easy fix. So when I take this thing apart, I'll just swap those two domes around, and I think that'll get them organized correctly. And obviously I'll replace the bad bulbs too. So this ramp here was a bit of a booger bear to get out. Not that there's only a few bolts, a couple screws here, a bolt there, another one there, another one there. That one's a little bit fractured, been repaired, probably needs repaired again. Another one there. The issue was that connector there, the green and white and black one, it ran underneath. There's boards mounted to the bottom of the playfield. It ran underneath those boards. I had to pull the boards off, and it was just that wire was up. That wire took me longer to take off than it did, so I could get that out than it did take everything else out. But anyway, it's off. So got basically the top level on half of it. Got to take off this ramp. That doesn't look like it's going to be too bad. And then we'll be down to the ground level, ready to take everything else off. All right, so now I got all the ramps and all the stuff off the top off. So now I'm going to take a whole another suite of pictures and take everything else off. It's really important to take another set of pictures. I know, I've learned the hard way, because you can't see this stuff very well when all the stuff's on top of it. And it helps to identify, like, where does that go? Where does that go? Is that supposed to have a little head on the top of it, or is it just supposed to have a screw top? You know, all these, there's plastic goes there. If you don't put that one on there, then the plastic's not going to line up. So having photographic evidence of how everything fits is real important. So, you know, number of pictures you need is 1 plus the number that you took every single time. So take many of them. All right, so I got everything stripped off this game. I've got everything from the top right here. That when the ramps right there, there's just a bunch of bagged up stuff. I'm gonna donate to somebody somewhere underneath there. And then this is all the stuff on the bottom, including Rudy's head. So now I'm going to take some more photos and get good photographs of all the heads of all these bolts. Take all the posts off. And I think I'm probably going to take Rudy's skull out of here, if you want to call that frame a skull. Because to get his jaw out, it's very back of his mandible is got these little C-clips back here. I might be able to do it in the game, but I don't know. Might be easier just to get them out of here. It's not too difficult. It looks like I picked up the playfield. All the wires for it have connectors, and there's just 3 or 4 bolts holding it in. That whole thing will just drop down through the playfield, and then you pull it out on the bench. It might be easier way than trying to get that. I don't know if you can see my finger right there. There's a C-clip right there, holding his jaw on right there, and then there's another one right there. I think even if I got it off, it'd go flying in the washer, and getting it back on would be pretty difficult. I don't know. I may give it a shot. Well, I got this playfield pulled pretty far forward, and it's actually not that bad. So there's that C-clip from that side, and then there's another one right here. So I think I can get it without pulling this whole thing apart. By the way, I've got these Ramp-O-Matic things. I ordered some ramps from, I guess, probably Ramp-O-Matic. These things came free in the box. There's one, there's another one on the side. They're great for propping a playfield in kind of weird positions like this one. Just got to be kind of careful you're not mashing anything wherever you set them. But really, probably more valuable than the ramp I ordered. And those were free, and I use them all the time. So it's next day. I did my first pass with a little naphtha and rag. This thing was clean when I started. The playfield wasn't super dirty. Next I'm gonna get some naphtha or some Novus 2 after it. Try to clean up some of these ball swirls a little bit. There's quite a bit of ball swirl in areas where there's not mylar. So all the center section has mylar, and these side sections don't. May get Jane involved here and do some little minor touch-ups. There's a couple more up here. I don't even know if you can really see that one very well. Some of this stuff. Oh, here's one interesting thing. This trapdoor, I said it was kind of janky. I think somebody has done some serious modification, fixing. But this thing, yeah, it has problems. The problem that I saw was it won't stick up reliably, but that's the mechanism down below. It's nothing on the top. So I'm gonna look at that. Oh, look around a little bit more. The other thing I noticed, I was talking about painting this, and it used to be these things were not available. They are available. Planetary Pinball's got this part right here painted up. You can get it in the red paint, or they sell one that's like they call it the orange red, which actually matches his face. $36 for one of these. So I'm gonna get 2 of them, one for this one and one for my other Funhouse. So that's an easy solution for that. So that's kind of cool. So I guess I'll get out the Novus too and start polishing on this thing. So I was scrubbing this with a little Novus, and when I was doing it, I kept noticing this thing sticking up here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's the pointy end of a screw sticking up in the bottom of the play field right there. And it's breached, so it's sticking out just a little bit. So somebody has used the wrong screw to fasten something on the back side. I'll lift up the play field and get rid of that, swap that out with the proper screw. Two problems with that. One, it wrecks your play field, you can see it. Two, your balls are running over there and scratching your balls up, and then your balls get rough, and then your balls end up scratching the rest of the play field up. So it's double damage. So anyway, I'm gonna get rid of that and put in a shorter screw here. Well, I'm gonna flip the play field up and see if we can find it real quick. Okay, so that screw in question is right there, and it's not even tight. You see that play in the movement. And this is that kick-out assembly that earlier in the video I mentioned that the owner was complaining about. This whole thing is just loosey-goosey. No wonder it doesn't work. The coil is in there loose, and then the whole assembly is in there loose. And if that was in there tight, it would stick up even higher on the play field. So we'll pull that out and get a shorter screw for that. I'll probably end up filling that hole in because it's probably stripped out, which is part of the reason why this has gotten loose. It's stripped, so it probably got stripped originally. Somebody tried to put in a bigger screw to make it stay and breach the play field. So gotta take care of that. So here's that screw I just pulled out, so you can see it's much thicker than the play field. Even if you give it, oops, shoot, dropped it. There it is. Even if you get it credit for that metal plate that it's got to go through, so it sticks up, it still sticks out there just a little bit, and that's about how it was sitting in there. So this got to get a shorter screw and probably fill that hole in so that we can get a good bite on it. This whole thing is just, yeah, you can see that hole is pretty reamed out. Somebody's already moved it to another place from the original hole, maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna take this whole thing off because this is also the one where maybe that coil sleeve. I'm just gonna stop cleaning for a little bit and fix this right now. Remember that coil sleeve I saw that jumped out of the play field, or I showed it to you? Y'all didn't see it jump out. There's not one in here, I don't believe. At least it's not protruding up through that collar, which it should be. That's part of the reason why this is so loose. There's nothing holding the top of it. It's also not tight, like squeezed between those two fingers. So those two nuts at the bottom there should be tightened while you're squeezing it, so it's held, so it doesn't have any wiggle room. And potentially put one of those little flex washers in there. I say flex washer. One of these dudes. They're a little washer, and they're bent, and you can bend them a little bit more if you want, but kind of tighten things up. Anyway, so I'm gonna re-sleeve this thing real quick, and yeah, see, we got two sets of holes and two sets of holes. Hard to say which one's the original one. I'm guessing it's the top ones are the original because the bottom ones have this bracket sitting on top of the other bracket, which doesn't seem quite right. And that one, those don't. So I'm thinking those are probably the original ones. So I'm gonna try to get back in the original holes, get it lined up, and I think it'll work better. I took this whole assembly apart, and these are not bolts or studs, so I was wrong about those, squeezing those up when you tighten them. Well, I think what I can do though is just bend this top piece down a little bit and also put a flex washer in there, and I think that will snug it up just a little bit. If I get that, so that's not aligning anything because there's the end of that coil sleeve is going to poke through there, and it will, hopefully it will put a pressure on there so that thing is snug in there, so when it fires you're not just jiggling the coil around, all that energy is going to slamming that forward and hitting the ball as hard as possible. Well, I correct myself one more time, there is some travel here on this little bracket. So yeah, hold that tight when I put those nuts on there, and it'll get it nice and snuggled up. You can see that's going to work a lot better. So I got this nice and firm. One thing jiggling on this is the plunger. It's nice and free. So I got some toothpicks. I went ahead and filled in all 4. I'm gonna use the top 2 in case I don't like it later. The other 2 will be filled in already. The glue's not dry, but it's okay. It'll dry up. Actually, it dries up even better, I think, when you got a screw in there, because it's got something to press it up when it's drying up. So even better off. So I'm gonna mount this back up there. Unfortunately, won't be able to test it right now, but we will. I think I got that coil in there sideways. Yeah, I got that coil 9 degrees around the other one. I'm gonna have to take it off and rotate it at 9 degrees so those leads come off the top instead of the side there. My bad. Got a couple of new wood screws. These are a little bit bigger diameter. Well, same diameter as that one big one. The other one was a little on the skinny side. This one's just the thickness of that play field, but once I put it through that metal plate, it'll be just about right. Well, I'm looking at my other Funhouse, and I realize that piece of plexiglass is stock. That is a stock Kanjar also. So that came in the factory like that. The lip on that other one is definitely, I knew it was hacked up a little bit. It's supposed to have the real thin blued metal that's basically has almost no lip to it. In fact, I can't get my fingernail underneath to pick this thing up. I'm gonna have to get a pick to get this up. But I think I'll go do. Yeah, see that mechanism is supposed to go almost all the way to the end. I think the other one, this bottom piece there, or the end of it, maybe is broken off and I don't know. Let's go look. It's definitely got a big old ugly hunk of metal scabbed on there. A hunk of something. No, the bracket's good. They've just got, instead of, well, where's my ramp set? Here's one of them. You can buy this stuff right here, super thin metal. Steve PBR gets it and just cut off a piece and then rivet it on there. And see, this is riveted at the wrong place. It should be riveted back here. And that will make a much better transition for the ball. So I think I will probably do that, because this is just pretty crude. You can kind of see it, but it's not that noticeable. But just the lip on there is going to make the ball jump and not go up there very well. That's kind of a hard shot anyway. You don't need any extra resistance, so gonna probably take that out and fix it. So Jane did some more cleaning and did some waxing on this game, and I just started doing the LEDs. I got half of them. You can kind of tell which half has got the new LEDs versus the old LEDs. I mean, the old LEDs don't even look like they're hardly turned on compared to the new ones, don't you think? Once I do the ones under the playfield, they'll look a lot nicer too. So anyway, keep going. So I got the other half of these lights populated on the top. I'm going to start populating this game back. I'm still waiting. I've got a couple more days for Rudy's Jaw to show up. I do want to go ahead and replace this with the proper material. That's, I guess, I think I showed you up before. It's kind of a, well, so that's not latching quite right. I'm going to figure that out. But that little tab there is not the right material. It's supposed to be this super thin stuff. So I'm going to cut out a piece of this. And it's actually riveted in the wrong place. It's supposed to be riveted right at the end of the tip, but it's riveted up higher. So I'm going to drill those rivets out, take that off, see what it looks like, and then cut a piece of this and try to rivet it in the right place. The rivets are supposed to be about the end of my fingertip right there. So I've got the other one in the other room and I looked. So hopefully, well, there's going to be holes in that piece of plexiglass where those rivets went, but Maybe I'll go ahead and put this further back, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna get rid of the rivets and see what it looks like. So I drilled through those rivets, so that was like that. Got it off. You could see somebody drilled new holes, put new rivets, and this is the old location. So I'm going to try to use that old location. I'll drill those out at least because the metal is, I can stick it up, feel my finger sticking up. I'll drill those out a little bit to at least where they're indentions instead of protrusions. And then I'm going to probably have to drill out these rivets also so I can put in new rivets right here. And then cut myself a flap of that little thin metal. And that is 0.06 inch metal. Steve sells 3 sizes of this. Another valuable thing about ordering from Steve, so you call him up, he's got 0.04, 0.06, and 0.1 inch thick metal. You call him, Steve, how thick should it be? What are you using on? A Funhouse. Well, if it's not a baseball machine, it's probably 0.06. Baseball machines, the only thing you use 0.04. Funhouse, 0.06. That's about how the conversation goes. And so this is like, I don't know, $3 or $4 or $5, and you can make a lot of flaps out of this. So I just got to cut it, drill a hole, and put a couple rivets on there, and that's going to be it's going to be a much better transition than was on there, and it won't be so ugly. You don't really see it. A lot of this is kind of covered up, but here, I'll show you on the other one here. It's still, well, that one's up. I guess it's fairly visible. You know, that's kind of a shield there. So it's mostly in the open. But that's the way it's supposed to look. And it's going to be a much better transition for the ball. So it'll make that shot shooting up around the side of Rudy's head a lot easier. By the way, making that shot is an important shot in this game. So if you, I think almost any time you shoot that shot once, it'll come loop around and it'll raise up the trapdoor, and you can start the the frenzy mode. I think that's pretty much always available. It's hard to do, obviously, but it's kind of a fun feature. So I got those 2 drilled out so they're recessed. I'm looking at here, that's not my drill mark, that's somebody else's drill mark. So somebody probably tried to drill out these rivets. It's having a hard time, because really you need to drill them from the other side, the side where it's crimped. And I probably need to take this apart anyway because it's not latching reliably. Sometimes it does, it caught. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this whole assembly off so I can get a drill bit to the underside of that, get those rivets off, and the whole thing is gonna be easier to get this thing riveted on and try to get this thing so it latches reliably. So I think I'll do that next. So I got the hinge out of there. It's kind of a pain, and unfortunately the little part there snapped off, so it's broken now. So really no good way to repair that. I mean, you could take it someplace, have it welded, but you know, it's some kind of cheap stainless, hard to weld. Got a replacement here, $15, probably cheaper than trying to get it repaired. So I guess that's what I'll do. So that'll set me back some time. I think maybe I got some other things I need from Marco. Yeah, it's $10 shipping regardless of what you get, pretty much. So figure out what else I need from Marco and place an order with him. I don't, maybe Steve. I'll call Steve up, see if he's got one of these. Maybe he does. He does have a lot of stuff on that's not on his website, so it's always worth checking. So I just called Steve to see if he had one of these, and he's like, "What's the number?" So I gave him this number here, and he goes, "Let me go look on the shelf." So because I guess he wasn't sure, he might have had one in the system, or would want to make sure. Anyway, comes back. He goes, "What's Marco charge for him?" I said $14.99. He's like, "My system price is only like, it's $2 and something cents." He goes, "I'm gonna charge more than that." I'm like, "Charge me whatever you want, Steve. It's cool." He goes, "It'll be like $5." I'm like, "Cool." So I'm gonna call him tomorrow and give him a full order. But I give him an order about every week. So anyway, just example. If there's something you need, give him a call. He's liable to have one. I mean, most of the time when I call him on something like this, more times than not, he's got it, even though it's not going to be on his website. So he's got all kinds of parts over there, and he's very helpful. Anyway, so I just say that. So I was preparing to put these pop bumpers together, and here's what I realized. So you put this in there, so that the holes, so that that's going to fit down like that. What you end up with is that little tab is on the side. So normally you'd want that little pointing thing would be pointing up at the top so the ball doesn't get stuck on the top, so it either goes to the left or the right. But that puts like that, so it doesn't work. It's so the way this game is oriented, you really want some of these skirts without the little tip. I don't think they make them without the tip anymore. So in any case, I'm just going to grind these tips off on the grinding wheel real quick and make them round, and that'll take care of that. So I got this first one in here. I went ahead and put the shaved edge over on this side. You can just barely tell it's there, but plastic goes over that. Nobody's ever going to know. Then I'm going to, by the way, normally you'd have to put this down, or on a lot of pop bumpers, you'd have to put this down before you put this because it's wider than the ring. But on this style, this kind of straight wall, you can put these on afterwards. And so I'm going to do the red, and this is blue and white, or white and blue. I'll have to look. But there's a red one, a blue one, and a white one. So I've got the pop bumpers together, just sliding on these pop rings. I just polish these up on the butter wheel. They look better than the new ones. If you get brand new ones, you still have to polish them to get them that shiny. This is the old pop bumpers bodies. There's nothing wrong with these. I just hate them. This translucent. I just can't stand them. The white looks just so much cleaner and nicer than the old ivory. I think it's what they call those. So get the fun part is soldering these up on the bottom, then put together the mechs, and we'll start putting all the rest of this stuff. We'll have to hold off on the trapdoor, and actually the trapdoor could probably access most of this from the bottom. Probably just hold off a little bit on that. And Rudy's jaw. I can get a lot of this put together, waiting on those two parts because they're not going to be here. It's a Wednesday. They may not be here till next week. So I just pulled all these out of the ultrasonic, and I noted one of these, the little coil stop, that piece there is a little bit loose. So I'm going to tighten that up, give it a little love tap on the vise, the slam of the hammer, and I think that'll take care of it. So I was too lazy to get the stand out, but basically I held that like that. Well, I can just hold it like that and kind of act like I hit it. And, you know, bam, bam, but I was holding it with the other hand. Just a couple good whacks, and it's as tight as brand new. So I got two of these put to get back together. I do like to go ahead and put a middle and an R, and the other one's got an L. So the harness, so it's real obvious where each one goes, because on a lot of these games they're controlled light. So if they're in the wrong place, it gets kind of goofy. But this one has that broken spoon. You see there's a notch out of it. So I'm gonna put a new spoon in there. Unfortunately, so they're just two screws, but there's nuts on the back side. So the easiest, it's easier to take this whole assembly so you can get this off of your hand and get to the nuts on the back. Of course, then you're gonna have to readjust. These have those two, the holes have slop in that, so you can adjust this to get that centered on the spoons. I'll have to readjust that, but it's probably the easier way to go take those two screws out there so I can get this whole switch assembly out of the game. So now I'll get this out. So those are those two nuts on the back side. So you really have to get the back side so you get those nuts off. Then, yeah, fortunately, the very bottom piece is this plastic piece. A lot of times the spoon will be in the middle of these wafers, so you have to take the whole switch assembly apart, but this one's on the very bottom, which is going to make it fairly easy. So I got the new spoon in there. I went ahead and scribed in some plate marks so I can kind of get this close. And I've also got the spoon, the skirt, the post from the skirt that I can kind of center up there too. But anyway, I thought it might help me a little bit having the magic marker lines up, so I'm going to go ahead and screw this in. Got it in there, and as you can see, that switch is always closed as I move the skirt. The red post is like connected to the skirt on the other side. So I'm going to pry this out. You can use whatever you want. You can use a switch adjustment tool. Sometimes on something like this, it's almost easier. A little baby screwdriver or pick or whatever.
And you want that stiffener to be helping to support it so it's not floppy. I've probably got it too wide right now. I get my hand back around this side. Yeah, it's got a lot of travel before it just barely touching, so just that's probably gonna fix it right there. If I can find it with my hand. That's pretty good right there. That's a little loose. Maybe I'll go a little bit tighter. I probably went too tight there. I think that's good right there. I'd say that's just about right. So basically you want the stiffener on the outside pushing up against the, you get this wire out of the way so it'll focus on the right thing. You want that stiffener right there pushing up the blade. So really you want to mostly be adjusting this piece, not this piece. So there should be pressure between those two all the time. So that's holding it in place. So when this comes down, there's a little bit of pressure between those 2 points and you get a good contact.
So I got my new hinge for my Funhouse flap here. Steve charged me a whopping $5.16 with my 10% discount, which everybody gets 10% discount if you spend $100. $4.64. I think it was $15 pretty much everywhere else, or at least Marco's was 15. Yeah, I think it was actually even more at some places. Usually Marco's is the most expensive, but they weren't on this particular part. But anyway, $5 is a lot better than 15, $4.64 anyway. So I'm gonna throw this one here, and you can see the little metal flap was underneath there. I've got that metal material here. I brought in some tin snips, so I'm gonna cut myself a little metal flap. And now that I've got this off, I can real easily take those rivets off the back side, just drill those out and re-rivet it, and we'll be good to go with it. It's kind of a, by the way, when you're drilling out rivets like this, you want to use a bit that's much bigger than the rivet. So that's actually a washer underneath there. So I've got this bit, it's, I don't know, not quite 3/8, but it's quite a bit bigger than the hole that the rivet goes through, and that's what you want, because you just want to shave that lip off the top. You're not trying to drill all the way through. You get that lip off the top, and it'll pop right out. So I got the remnants of that old flap taken off, so I just laid it down here on my new material, which is kind of nice because I got a template for the holes. I just traced it out, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it extra long. And I've got that other Funhouse in the other room, so I'm going to lay it on there and kind of mark where to cut the other side and how to shape it so it looks exactly stock. So first I'm just going to cut this off and take it to the other room. So I thought that I cut this thing extra long. I actually cut it just about exactly right. I'm gonna have to round these two corners like I rounded the other ones, but I mean, it is exactly the right length. So I meant to cut it long so I could trim it, but I guess I got lucky. So I'm just gonna round these two corners, drill those two holes, and rivet it in. Got that laid in there, and it looks a lot better than, if you remember, I guess for y'all just a few minutes ago. For me, it was several days ago. And that ugly thing laid up on top of there, riveted on. So, and it was, anyway, so that's done. So it's been about a week for me to work on this. I've been waiting for this gear here. If you look closely, those bottom 2 or 3 teeth, those tooths are gone. They're just busted off. So I got a new one here. I'm gonna stick that on there. I pulled the electrical tape off this, and they are soldered, but I'm gonna go ahead and desolder and put some heat shrink on there and make those a little bit better. And once I get that together, then I can put Rudy's head. I've also got his jaw in, so I'll stick this in, put Rudy's eyes and jaw, and put them all back together, and make sure Rudy's working, and then we can put the rest of the playfield back together. Just getting ready to desolder this. And you think these wires are wired backwards? I think so. I don't think it really matters. I mean, this thing goes backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, so it's just going forwards instead of backwards every time, and vice versa. But I think I'll put all red and red and the black on black. It'll make me feel better anyway. So that's cleaned up, looks a little bit better. I'm going to take this part. It looks like I just have to take off this one bolt here, and I can, if I just slide that bolt out, I can just yank that off. So I think that's what I'll do. So I took that bolt off. It was just a little short bolt. So there is
a cylinder in there that this is screwing onto. And so I'm gonna have to break this whole thing apart. So I'm gonna take that one off and probably that one too. And to get to all these, I'm gonna dismount the whole bracket, the whole unit out. Which means when I desoldered these a second ago, I should have left those unsoldered. I could have taken this whole thing over to the bench and done it on the bench, would have been easier, but that's okay. I'll just do it here in the game. So I'm gonna take, I guess, just those two and two more over here. So I guess there's just 4 wood screws, and this is gonna be loose, and I can get to these other 2, and then the whole thing will just go ping, and all the parts will go flying. So now I get to figure out how to put it back together. So I guess my plan is I'm going to take this one off here, and I'm just going to loosen this one and see if I can just swing it around and without completely disassembling it. Okay, so that worked. I took that one out by my thumb and just loosened that one and swung it around. So now I can just pop this gear off and put the new one on. Now that I've got it off, you can really see. So it was missing gears on 2 sides. I only saw the one side, but it's actually the top and the bottom were missing gears. And just for fun, I asked Steve if he had one of these. He was out of them. But he did tell me that the reproductions are pretty crappy, so, you know, but that's what you get. They're not as good as the originals. You can almost look at it and tell it just doesn't look like, I don't know, looks a little more brittle. But, I mean, the old ones are really brittle, but they're 50 years old, or 40. Anyway, so I've got to reuse this little armature there, but it's got a little keyhole, so it just comes out. And so I'll swap it over here and put it on the game. Just swing that right back around, put those 2 screws on there, and it'll be ready to go back up into the game. All right, so Rudy's got a new gear here, so that's good. I think I'll drop this playfield and try to get his jaw attached. So here's the original Rudy, and here's what I believe is the original lips. Then the lips are gone. But they're also redder than the bottom lip is redder than his upper lip. I bought the reproduction, and you can buy this with what they call the orange red, or you can get the red. I got the orange red, which basically matches his upper lip and his nose. So the skin color is a little peachier, I'd say, than this one, but the original one is a little peachier too, but not quite as peachy as this one. But this one's 40 years old, so you know it's mix and match. Nothing, you get old plastic, it's never going to match the new ones. But this is a pretty good, I'm pretty happy with this. For 40 bucks, it's going to look a lot better than that one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 springs and put them onto the new. All right, so I got the back of Rudy's jaw snapped in on those little metal posts there, and on either side, I just kind of squeeze together and they pop in there. I haven't put the springs on yet. I'm going to go down below and I'm going to hook that gear that we just attached onto the bottom of his chin. I'm going to stick this little piece here, take off one of those little C-clips, and put it through there and snap this clip on there. It'll be a little tedious, but we'll get it. Had to hold your tongue just right to get that one on there, but it's in. So now we put the rest of his head together. So I had to go back and look at his pictures, but I got those 2 springs back there snapped on, and I put my C-clips on the back of his jaw on either side of where that's wiggling, that little metal post there sticks through. Got those 6 clips on. Those were also fun to put on. I've got this here, which the bottom of his eyeball sticks in there, and the top of his eyeball sticks in there. So this goes, I put my, I got it backwards. Put all my bolts back in there. So this one has 3 holes, and that one has 2 holes, so I know it goes this way. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this in there, at least bolt in one side, maybe get his eyeballs stuck in there and then bolt it up. And I think that's maybe a coil stop or something, maybe for this one here, for that coil right there. So I'm going to get this started. So I got that bracket just hanging one on each side, and so these eyeballs have to go in there, and the end of this has to fish up into that hole there, and the other eyeball goes on the other little hole right there, and then that hole there goes into the bottom there on my index finger. So, and it all has to happen at once. Get both eyeballs and get them wedged in there at the same time, so without them falling out. So it's going to be kind of a trick getting all this together at once.
probably be easier to do on the bench, but I'm not going to take it all out at this point. I got this eyeball done, and I fought several minutes to get this one in, and I mean the instant that one went in, this other one fell out. So I'm going to keep going. Now I'm back to 0 eyeball. So here we can start over from scratch. I got a little trick here. I'm just going to sit it right there. Maybe I'm going to tape it, actually get some masking tape and tape it in place there, and then I'll do the other one. Okay, to get close, I got this is left eye, the one my thumb's over, is not in the little hole, but I'm gonna put it in the hole. Then I'm gonna try to swing this bracket up and get it in there. All right, his eyeballs are in the sockets. His eyelids are falling off, but I'll jam that in that little hole there, and tighten that nut up there. Tighten that one up. Swing this around and put the 2 more in there where my thumb's at, and geez, I think we'll be ready to put his face and his back of his skull on. All right, Rudy's back together, functionally anyway. I'm going to turn the game on and go through a Rudy test and see if he walks and talks. Well, he shut his eyes for me. We'll go through this and see what... test. I think there's a Rudy test, yeah, somewhere. Maybe not. There it is. See if mouth open and closed is correct, not backwards. Let's see that. Mouth open, mouth closed. So it's backwards. So we do need the black with the red and the red with the black, I guess. Is that possible? Well, apparently the red goes to black and black goes to red. I don't know. I'm going to swap them around and see if that makes his mouth go open when it's supposed to be open and closed when it's supposed to be closed. Just take a second, and that's probably what it is. All right, so I swapped them around. I didn't swap them here. I swapped them up here. I just swapped those 2 leads. It's a lot easier to do that. Plus, that way I got the black and the black and the red and the red. And I kind of like that. So we're going to do this test again. And we're going to see if Rudy will open his mouth when he's supposed to. Get this booted up. Oops, not switches. Go forward. Rudy test, okay. That was it. Okay, he's working. All right, so Rudy's looking much, much better. He's still gonna have some sarcastic things to say, I'm sure. But now we can get back to putting this thing together. Get all this nonsense back onto here, and I think I saw an error on here. I don't know what it is, but probably take a look at that before we get too far along. It's just a bunch of switches that are not working. Of course, there's a bunch of switches not even plugged in, so, you know, what you gonna do? I'm gonna get it all plugged back in. I think all the switches are working on this game, so they were working. They may not be anymore, but if they aren't, we'll fix them, but I think they're working. So Rudy's all put back together, got him all LED'd, got it in the flasher test. It was flasher and LED test right now. He's looking a lot better. He's slumbering at the moment, but he's ready to wake up and make sarcastic comments. Still gotta redo the flippers. Haven't taken the bushings out, so it's gonna new bushings, new coil stops, new coil plungers and the like, and some test playing, of course. It's the most important part. It's the hardest part of the job is test playing. And then this will be ready to go back to the owner. If you like this video, mash the like button and go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Cheers.